I've got a question. What came first, the classroom management or the classroom engagement? That is the question that we're going to answer today. And by the end, not only will you be able to answer that question, but you'll be able to know or learn the best way to master both. We are here with New Teacher Big Impact Live, and I'm Daryl Williams Jr., former terrible teacher turned two-time teacher of the year, sharing some of the mistakes that I made as a new teacher so that you don't have to make the same ones. Tyrone, I see you. We are live. Good to see you. Glad you're here from Kingston, Jamaica. And even no matter where you are, whether you're in Jamaica, whether you're in the United States, whether you're in Ghana, India, Indianapolis, it doesn't matter where you are. There's a struggle between trying to identify whether it is the engagement or whether it is the classroom management when it comes to making sure students are receiving and retaining the information. When we think about our classrooms, we look at all that goes on in the classroom and we try to always get to the root as good teachers, right? We try to get to the root to figure out what is it that we need to do to make sure that students are receiving the information I give them, that they can retain it, and that they can actually be great, as a result. And the question that came to my mind, a lot of times it boils down to two things. It's either going to be the engagement or it's going to be the management. It's kind of like when you ask yourself the question, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? And people know, if you're from a faith-based background and grew up believing in Christianity, in the Bible it says that the God made I don't know why I blinked just now, sorry, but God made the animals. So obviously, people in that believe that the chicken came first. Chicken had eggs, made more chickens, right? Some other people believe that the egg came first. Egg hatched, made a chicken, and whatever it is, one caused the other. So now when we're looking at it with classroom engagement and classroom management, does one cause the other? Like, should I address the classroom management? If I have students that won't sit down, won't pay attention, they're not listening, they're not doing what I need them to do, they're loud, they're unruly, they're off task, I can't figure out how to get this information to them. Do I start focusing on classroom management first? Or do I start focusing on classroom engagement first? And what we have to do is we have to ask ourselves particular questions, which I'm going to ask you in a second, to help understand whether it is a management issue or it is a engagement issue. And the reason why is because if we don't identify the correct issue, then we'll be solving the wrong pain point. Right? It's like if you go to the doctor and you just say I'm hurting and say, okay, cool, let's go and we're gonna bandage up your knee, and you're like, nah, like I'm hurting in my shoulder, right? That wouldn't make sense. We have to identify the correct pain point so we can prescribe the correct solution. So a couple of weeks ago, not too long ago, I shared a carousel that has asked the question, what came first, the engagement or the management? And I want to show you what it's going to take to answer that question. So let me know in the chat if you are ready and ready to receive, because I'm going to give you those two or those couple of questions that you need to ask yourself to determine if it's the engagement or if it is the management. And it's funny because most people don't ask themselves these questions because they're forced to go to whatever PD they are forced to go to. What's going on, Bobby? Liberation Lab, I see you. Right. So, Bobby, Bobby is also an administrator. So, you know that sometimes people are struggling with something and PD is assigned, not requested. Let me say it one more time. And if anybody connects to me, let me know. All right. I see Miss Tickle said she's ready. Check it out. A lot of times we go to PD and it's because it is assigned, not requested. Somebody will come into your classroom or somebody will just choose PD for the year. As an administrator, I know that sometimes you sit down and say, okay, what does the school at large need? So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that everybody gets this training on classroom management. Well, I might not need classroom management training. You know what I'm saying? I might need student engagement. But a lot of times, some people are just given PD. We're not requesting it, not getting to choose the PD that I need, but we're giving it. And what happens is it ends up being irrelevant. That's what helps us, that allows us to check out or say it's boring or whatever it is. Like, it's not being helpful. And unhelpful professional development, Bobby says, are of the devil. That's what he said. His words, not mine. Matter of fact, let me put this on the screen so you believe it's not me, it's him, right? Ones that are not helpful, it's not aligned to what I'm trying to learn or I need to improve on. It's not helpful, right? Antonique, so good to see you. Glad you got the book. So let me show you. Let me answer these questions to determine whether you are struggling with engagement or you're struggling with management. If you have students that are constantly, watch this, unprepared for class, asking to go to the bathroom, on their cell phones, not completing assignments. Do you think that this is more engagement or this is more of a management issue? I have the answer, but I want to see. Put it in the chat. I'm going to say it one more time, right? I'm going to say it one more time. If your students are constantly unprepared, asking to go to the bathroom, on their phones, not completing assignments, is that more of an engagement issue or a management issue? I'm looking and I see Ms. Tiggle again saying engagement, right? See, Ebony, I see you. Glenell, I see you. Some people putting some answers in. All right. All right. All right. Antonique, I got you. And you guys are absolutely correct, right? Tyrone, I see you from Jamaica. Yeah, it's engagement. If I have students that are constantly unprepared for class, it's because they're not concerned about what's about to happen in class. That's not necessarily a classroom management issue. They're like, I don't really care. This teacher is gonna come and talk the whole time. I don't need a pencil. I don't need a binder. I don't need my laptop for class. I'm just gonna sit here and tune out because all they're gonna do is talk. Right? They're constantly asking to go to the bathroom. That's not a management thing. They're trying to get away from you. All right, I should have prefaced this by saying, I'm sorry, Bobby, you should have stopped me, man. I'm sorry. I should have prefaced this by saying I might hurt some feelings today. I should have let you know. Woo! Because if they're constantly asking to go to the bathroom, I don't care if they're 6 years old, 7 years old, 9 years old, 12 years old, 17 years old. If they don't have a 504, they most likely don't need to go to the bathroom that much. It's just what's happening in the bathroom is more interesting than what's happening in class. What's happening in the hallway is more intriguing than what you're doing from the front of the room. I'm sorry. Bobby, I told you to stop me, bro. I told you to stop me. Because that is an engagement issue. Because students are more interested in what's going on out there than what's going on in here. If you have students that are constantly on their phones, a lot of us sometimes we blame this generation and we blame it and just saying, oh man, these kids can never depart from their phones. They can never stay off of their phones. Well, when they're in the football game, when they're on the basketball court, like when they're playing soccer, they're not on their phones. But when they're in your classroom, what's happening in the front of the classroom is not interesting. It's not engaging. I'm not paying. So I'd rather be on TikTok because TikTok is engaging. All right, let me move on. If they're constantly not completing assignments, that's more of an engagement issue. We're not engaging students enough for them to be able to understand what's going on and be ready to perform well. So that being said, he goes to the next questions. So obviously, you know the answer to this one. If students are constantly talking when they're not supposed to, wandering about the classroom, being verbally aggressive to each other, most likely, what type of problem is that? Let me know in the chat. If they are talking when they're not supposed to, if they are wandering about the classroom, they just get up and move around. If they are verbally aggressive to one another, they're calling each other's names, they're consistently roasting each other. All right, Ms. Tinkle said that's going to be a management issue, right? Ebony said that's going to be a management issue. And you are absolutely correct. All right. All right. Because if these students are constantly talking when they're not supposed to, it may not necessarily mean that you're not engaging, right? It may mean that you don't have the necessary control over the class to help to let them know, hey, hold your conversations for just a moment because what I'm saying is important and you need to get this, to set an expectation and to hold them to it. Right? If they're constantly wandering about the classroom, there's not a strong enough system that tells them to stay seated. If you need them to be seated at that time, there's not a strong enough system that is holding them in their seat and attentive. If they're verbally aggressive to one another, that's because they're allowed to be verbally aggressive to one another. Somebody asked me a question recently and they said, man, how do you address when students are being mean to each other? No, they didn't ask me how to address it. They said, how do I stop students from being mean to each other? In my class, they're just so mean to each other. I said, well, address the fact that they're being mean to each other. The same way that you would assign a consequence for somebody that slapped somebody in the face, assign a consequence for somebody that is rude or verbally aggressive to one another. And I'm not saying that consequences are going to solve the whole thing. Rewards and consequences, it's a system, which I can break down, but there's a system of rewards and consequences. They need to be celebrated when they do the thing that is right. And they need to be reminded that they fell short of the expectation when they do the thing that is incorrect. And talking to somebody in a disrespectful way in my classroom is something that is incorrect. So it'll be dealt with just like any other, you know what I'm saying? That's management. That's a management system. Some people say, oh, that's their culture. No, in this classroom, we're positive, loving, and supportive. And we use those types of words. So these are some of the things, whether you are dealing with these things in the classroom and you're trying to figure out, man, how do like, I don't know if I'm struggling with engagement or if I'm struggling with management. Ask yourself these questions. Here's what you do. Here's the unlock: 90 seconds or less. 90 seconds or less. Coach B said, Coach B Rack, let me say, said it's a systems issue, right? Here's what you should do. The behaviors that students are exhibiting that you don't want them to believe, this is what you're going to write down. You're going to make 2 columns, kind of a T chart. The behaviors that they're exhibiting that you don't want them to, or that they should not be doing, that are falling short of the expectation, I want you to list that on the left side. All the behaviors, all the things that students are doing. And on the right side, you got all the answers right in the chat tonight. So I trust that you had that judgment, but I just think that maybe we didn't take the time to go through this exercise. On the right side of the T chart, write down whether that is an engagement issue or whether that is a management issue. Students constantly on their phone. Be real with yourself. That's an engagement issue. Yeah, they're probably not interested in what I have to say. So now as you're going down this list, let's say you write down 20 things. If 17 things are engagement issues and 3 things are management issue, now you know that you need to strengthen your engagement. If 15 things are management issue and 5 things are engagement issue, now you know you need to strengthen your classroom management. So really take your time, draw out that T chart. What are the behaviors that our students are exhibiting that you don't want them to exhibit or that are not helping them to be successful? And then on the right side, is that behavior or is it management? Sorry, is it management or is it engagement? Then find the PD or find the solution to that stressor. And the best way, I told you that I will show you the best way. The best way to learn those skills is through Impact. Impact is the comprehensive solution to your PD needs. I like to call it PD in your pocket. And the beautiful thing about it is launching on July 1st. Oh man. So I want you to think about Hulu for what Hulu is to TV, how you go into Hulu. Man, last week I was driving home from Atlanta and I was getting tired. And what keeps me awake in the car is stand-up comedy. So I went to the comedy section, I typed in stand-up and I found Trevor Noah. I like his stuff. So I watched it and it got me all the way home. 2 hours, I'm good, right? So I knew exactly what I needed. I went into Hulu, I chose a category and I found the solution to the thing that I was looking for. Impact is the same way. So launching July 1st, you'll be able to look for the category you need. Is it engagement? Is it empowerment? Is it encouragement? Is it an evaluation? What is the pillar that you need assistance with? Under that, you'll be able to find lessons that go along with it, but not just lessons, because it's not just courses, but you also have access to a community. You see the people in the chat tonight. We have people from Jamaica, people from Ghana, people all over it, right? All over the world, where we're coming together to be able to work together to find a solution, as well as access to coaching from me. And that's all covered under Impact. Impact is launching July 1st. I believe that the link is in the description, right? So, I knew somebody was gonna say it, Bobby. It's Netflix for PD. It's not Netflix, because me and Netflix have an issue right now, Bobby. They're not letting me use my mom's login anymore. So I'm no longer saying the name Netflix until they give me my rights back. I'm boycotting Netflix. We don't live in the same house. And they were like, this TV is not covered in this household. So I'm not saying Netflix, but I have Hulu for $1.99 for the year. So I'm gonna keep mentioning Hulu. But yes, Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, whatever it is, just like that for your PD needs. And the beautiful thing is, just like we were talking about, the main concerns about PD are that they're boring, they're irrelevant, and that they're expensive, right? They're boring because a lot of the people teaching it have never been in the classroom and been in your shoes. Irrelevant because it's forced PD, not PD that you get to choose. And expensive because you're going to conferences, you're going to workshops, you're spending all this kind of money. Impact is an innovative solution because not only is it not boring, because it's taught by people who have been in the classroom, who have been where you are and are where you eventually want to be. All right. It's not boring. It's not irrelevant because you get to choose the PD that you need. Do you need engagement? Do you need management? You get to choose. And it's not expensive because it is only $13 for the month that you want access to it, which is a steal. Most of the time, people sell a course for $47. They sell a course for $97. They sell a training for $127. You get access to the full library, the courses, the coaching, and the community just for $13 for the month that you want access to it. I love it. It's a powerful solution. Be on the lookout for it. It's called Impact, and it's probably in the description. If not, it's newteacherbigImpact.com/waitlist. take my time and type it out here. New teacher, big impact.com/waitlist. I'll put it in the chat for you if you are interested. So whether you have a management issue or an engagement issue, it doesn't matter. Impact's got you covered. I appreciate you being here with me tonight. And as we remember, I always like to say, spend 1% of your summer improving skills so that next school year is your best school year. Thank you for spending some of your 1% with me. And I know that next school year is going to be the best you've ever had. I'll see you soon.